Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
Ladder's a shit carter's hut.
welcome back to the Woke Blokes podcast. It's
Come on.
Ryan Hassan,
Oh,
runner-up of the I was going to say Myndfit, the Woke Blokes, the Vietnam Woke Blokes Dong Cup. Joined as always by my co-host and the very humble and gracious winner of the Woke Blokes Golf Vietnam trip. He took my dong in his hands and rubbed it on his face. We're talking about the currency of Vietnam for those who don't know, not anything else. Nico, congratulations on I was going to say a well-earned victory, but more of a hollow victory, I suppose, is probably the better way to talk about it.
well, it's hollow because you really sort of let yourself down, I suppose. And thanks for that. Thanks for that really flat introduction. Let's start again. I'd like a bit more Bruce Buffer and still reigning champion, or I want a bit of pizzazz, a bit of
I don't know if I can do pizzazz because I'm still reeling. I'm still thinking about it. But look to give people context. I came out of the gates. We were all so we played. What did we play? 4 rounds.
all rounds. Yeah,
There was 4 rounds of golf at four different golf courses in the at Da Nang of Vietnam. We had a bloody wonderful time. We had a great
totally.
fun, lots of laughs.
Shout out to SGA, Social Golf Australia.
Shout out to SGA. Shout out to the Radisson Hotel in Da Nang,
Oh yeah.
which allowed us to just have Cuban cigars on the roof and
And
whiskey on the rocks.
putting and chipping competitions in the corridor.
Yes, without complaining at all. It was wonderful, and we had all square on the first day. The second day, Nico had food poisoning and had to pull out, which I think's a forfeit, to be
Well,
honest.
it's no, it's still a bit sus because we ate the same thing. I left the table, came back, we ate the same foods. I reckon you slipped some dong to one of the waiters,
Yeah.
got a raw prawn put on my plate. Sabotage is yeah,
Well, went ducked out to the loo and came back and like, Nick, you got to try these prawns, mate. Especially
you
that one
did.
right there.
You did. Which says you were afraid, which says you were scared.
I
You
did.
know,
I didn't do that. That's not what happened. So you got sick, and then the next round, the following day, I took
well,
the honors.
you went and played around with everyone else. Well, I
I
took a
had to
day
play an
to.
extra one. I had to play an extra one.
Well, that's probably to your advantage as well. Like it's yeah, you should have got in the groove. You should have grooved your swing.
Anyway, let me continue the story. Stop talking about me and my swing. We then go out at which was one of our favorite course,
Oh
Poyana
yeah,
Shores. Oh my
oh yeah.
God, what a links course that was.
I'm still having nightmares. I'm just so disappointed. I played the worst round of my life there. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful course.
And so I panched you that day. So we'll go on
Yep.
by days, like who was up, on the day. So we had an all square day and then a one up. But we also, Nick decided on the fly after the first day, on the fly, he goes, if we finish our match play after 18 holes and we're all square, then we'll calculate the Stableford points and that's who takes the honours. So that was just decided. That was not discussed prior to the trip.
Which everyone at the table thought was a good idea, and you agreed to because
Everyone
you're
at
like,
the
yeah,
everyone at the table was 4 beers deep, mate. They would have agreed to anything.
40 beers deep. But you also thought it was a good idea because you're like, yeah, we don't want it to be all square at the end. We want a result. And
Yeah,
so I
okay, all
created a
right.
way for us to get a result.
Okay. So then, so after 2 rounds, I'm up one of we're all square one day, and then I've won one of the days, so two to go. We
Because
then
I've
go.
just literally peeled myself off my deathbed to go and play.
Let's not overstate the situation. There was a rest day. There was a rest day after your deathbed day. Um, and then we went up to the Banner Hills up in the mountains
Mm.
on the Thursday, on the
Yep,
Friday.
Thursday.
And then that was a Friday, and then and so we went up there, and so this is where it got a little bit contentious because we once again match play finished all square on the day, but Nick's new rule that he introduced meant that he won the day.
Due to the agreed rule from the first day, which you had days to get your head around, not even get your head around, you fucking agreed to it.
I did agree to it. Like I'm picking up a bit
You're
of a stink here.
clutching. You are
Okay.
clutching at
So
straws.
now we are all square, and so we had to get an extra round added
So
because Nick was sick.
I won the third round based off Stableford points, and because we're all square in terms of match play. So for those that aren't golfers, Orion and I are about the same handicap. We play about the same sort of golf, and so we play match play, and it's whoever wins, whoever has the best hole on the score on the hole. And so we got to we both won the same amount of holes. So then it goes to points, which is based off your handicap and gets a bit technical. But yeah, so I came away with the cherries on the third round. And then, ooh,
And then we went to BRG Links on the Saturday, and we had to book an extra round. It was cool actually because the second nine we kind of played under lights. Really cool. It started getting
haven't done
dark,
that.
we hadn't played under lights before. It was really cool. And so match play again. Nick, I believe, got to 3 up after
Yep.
12,
Yeah.
which then it looked like it was all over. 3 up with
Did.
only, 6 to play.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the next 3 holes, he fell apart a little bit. And all of a sudden, we're all square again after 15. And
Mm-hmm.
so, this is a whole week, not just a whole week, but the lead up to the trip as well. But the
Oh,
whole week
months. This is months in the
is
making.
now everything is just could not be any tighter with a couple of holes to play.
All of our dong was on the line.
We were playing for 1 million Vietnamese dong, which
Yeah.
sounds super impressive, but is about what, $60?
Yeah, about $60.
Yeah, yeah. And then I can't remember what happened after that, but we all had a good time. We're back in Australia now, and it's
You
great. It's
can't
great to be
remember.
recording a show.
You can remember every shot over 4 rounds except the last 3 holes. All right. Okay. Well, I think
Correct.
you capitulated, and the cream rose to the top, and I played my way home and took all your dong.
I learned a valuable lesson that I'm taking for myself. Because on the
Ryan can't set boundaries.
I can't set boundaries. And on the 16th hole, after all square, the course we were playing at was a water beast. Every hole was water. And there was a short par four, and my little Vietnamese caddy gets my driver out, and I'm like, no, 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 like 4 iron on this hole. And then she goes, no, no, we're a driver. And then I just should have stood up for myself. I'm 6'2", 90 plus kilos. Generally quite a confident man.
You
Yet
could have
this five
thrown
foot
her over the
one,
water.
I could. I took my driver and proceeded to pull it straight into the water, and I never recovered from that point.
You mentally unraveled there because you just were stuck in this. I shouldn't have taken driver, and your focus went, your confidence went at all. It was like a car driving down the highway, and the wheels start falling off, and all the panels start falling off, and
And it started
oh.
crying.
So yeah, that's
But
that's
it
how it
was
happens.
wonderful. It was wonderful that it came down to the last few holes, and like I said, we had a wonderful time in Vietnam. We really did. I would. You hadn't been
Beautiful
there before,
people.
had you?
No, no, it was a bucket
No.
list for me. I'd been on sort of all over Southeast Asia, but not Vietnam. And I'd heard they had some wonderful golf courses there. So when Social Golf Australia sent out the email that this was happening, and we had my mate Matty Pitt, the founder of SGA. We had him on a episode around number 50 or so, and that was a really well received podcast, and lots of people gave some beautiful feedback. So yeah, he looked after us and sent us off to Vietnam, and couldn't have had a better time.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and good. It was great to spend time with you, Nico, like that. I'm glad
Of
we got the
course.
separate. I'm glad we made that decision to get the separate rooms though. After you
Yeah,
were
me
quite sick
too.
that
Me
night,
too.
we initially
Yeah.
booked it. And we're like, let's just do a twin share room. I reckon that'll be fun. And then a few weeks before we went, we had to think about it. And went, look, let's upgrade to the
Yeah.
to the separate rooms.
You and I, our relationship wouldn't have been the same after
Uh,
that night of food poisoning. There would have been things that cannot have been unseen by you. It was, in a word, it was violent. It
uh,
was.
But look,
as well.
I had great compassion because I've been there myself on a number of occasions. So I do have compassion. So no, we had a great time over there. It's good to be back into the swing of things. Nico back up north, me down here in Melbourne. Um, yeah, we just launched a actually an addiction program this week. I was doing a little side project with some friends and colleagues, and we had our first group call last night, and it was great. It was great to see people showing up for themselves, you know, and being
Mm.
really vulnerable. And I just last night was one of those things where I just really. It's like, oh God, I love what I do. You know, I love to be able to work with people who are, and you've spoken about it before, Nick, and I had the same thing when we first went out into this world. It's like, I want to save the whole world and everyone needs to hear this message. And then you come to the realization, it's like, no, we need to just help the people that actually want help and are ready for that. And we had people on this call last night who were just all on the same page. They all were ready to get help. They wanted to get help and they were there to be open and honest with themselves. And it was just so beautiful to see. And nothing really gets me as fired up as seeing people who do that. Apart from beating you at golf, but those two things quite equally
Well, that
wonderful.
round that you beat me, that's the one and only time you've ever beaten me.
Yeah, there was no need
Um,
to bring up the details, but it was quite a pantsing, to be honest.
um, wonderful to hear that last night. We too have just launched a few exciting things. So we're having a weekly Zoom hangout for clients. So 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, I'll just open up a Zoom meeting and any past or present clients can jump in and just hang out and chat because they've all got so much experience and so much to offer and support each other. And it's just I said just grab a beer or a wine or a hot chocolate or a coffee or whatever and sit down and we're just gonna chat about whatever. It's the work sort of tends to go in themes sometimes, so we'll talk about the theme of the work at the moment. A lot of it is down to setting non-negotiables and surrendering. So that'll be the topic of the week. But we've also just I've had clients after a certain period of time and they get themselves into a certain position say that they want to, they're thinking about how can I help people, how can I sort of do something similar to what you're doing. And I've toyed around with having Myndfit ambassadors and then Myndfit practitioners, and they can go and study and turning Myndfit into an accredited training program and all sorts of things. And I landed the other day on Myndfit mentors. So another level of internal support for clients in programs. We're going to have these clients that are in maintenance programs as the mentors. So
Mm.
it's not for them to therapize or do emotional triage or anything on anyone. It's just if someone's sort of can't get their head around something that we talk about, like the Four Noble Truths or whatever, then they just go to because a lot of clients mistakenly, and you know this, and Emma would know this, put me up on a pedestal, and it's like, oh, Nick's this omnipresence being, and he just is all equanimous and just pure thoughts, and and so to have clients as mentors and in that position, I'm 13 years into this, where the clients are 2, 3, 4, 5 years into this. So for new clients come in, they're a lot closer to where the clients are, the
It's like
mentors.
the next step, as opposed to
Yeah,
like, you know, 4 or 5 steps down the road. There's someone in that intermediary place. I
yeah,
think that's a wonderful resource.
yeah. And these mentors, man, like they've all bringing something unique to the table. They've all got different backgrounds, different life experience, different jobs. They're in different industries. We've got Tonka up in the mines, a couple of blokes in Swan Hill, and couple of crew in Melbourne and down the peninsula. So they're all unique in what they're bringing to the table. So yeah, I'm just really excited about launching that in April, and hopefully the clients that are in programs really take to that and start connecting with the mentors. So Yeah, but
Yeah, no,
it's
it's a
beautiful to see them giving back. You know, they've got themselves into this position where, all right, now I'd like to be there for others.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, like you said, if there's something they're not quite grasping, whatever, it's like, well, this is how I took it in and how I applied it, and
Mm.
and then it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. And yeah, I think it's a really good next step. And the hangouts as well. We were actually talking about on the call last night. It's like, you know, for us and the work that we do, it's a lot of deep level conversation. So it's like I don't have many surface level conversations. I have some, but like it's not the majority, and the natural is depth.
Vietnam
Like
is pretty surface level.
yeah, 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 that's fine. I enjoyed that. Yeah, but that it's like a bit of a break from the depth. Um, and so, but a lot of people, and they will speak on this call last night as well. It's like, most of life is kind of up here. And it's like, I got to manage stuff and speak to my co-workers or, friends and all this kind of stuff. And then having that space, and like for your group, it's a Wednesday night where it's like, let's just get together and kind of cut the bullshit and talk about real, what's happening inside and what
Well,
we're
it's all
working through.
they're all like-minded people, and they love what we talk about, the language that we're using in Mindfit, and the structure of it, and the philosophies behind everything. Like everyone really, when they come into contact with it, they love it. But their friends haven't done the program, or their partners haven't done a program, or so they've got no one to sort of talk about it with and bounce things off with. So yeah, the whole point of the hangout is to create an opportunity for like-minded people to sit and go a bit deeper and talk about things that are real and honest, and yeah, I think it's going to be a wonderful resource again.
Oh, beautiful, mate. Where's your little list on your phone that you had? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, we've come back from Vietnam, and I think I might have done as well as on my deathbed, because I was like, came up with these list of
This should be good.
tips to feel good and function well. And it's hilarious that this came when I was at my least functional and least feeling goodness. So got a list, and I'd love for you to add or subtract. Um, I think a routine. LLS is pretty common, but I thought it'd be nice to summarize it. Routines, morning routines, evening routines. Have a look at. I mean, you're a dad. You've got wonderful little Tommy that we were just chatting with earlier. And we know that kids do well with routines. The kids need a routine. They need some structure. They need to know where they're going and when they're going, because it creates a bit of habitual behavior, and becomes a bit easier for them. They don't have to think so much, or they're not so lost or confused. They don't have to analyze things. So I think as adults, we sort of forget that routines are really important. So having a morning routine, even if it's just getting up at the same time every morning, and you go into the Stoic philosophy, and they're big proponents of this. Getting up and just at the same time going for a walk or stretching or exercising or whatever, some water. Just don't get on your devices straight away. Yeah, and then evening routine as well. Start switching your devices off. Start preparing yourself for sleep. So many people just, hardwired throughout the day and in fight, flight, and buzzing and adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, and then, you know, consume a massive meal and usually alcohol, and then expect to go to bed and have a really deep, restful
Mm.
sleep. It's just
Because
the
something doesn't
math.
add up.
Yeah, the X plus Y is not equaling Z. Like the math doesn't add up. So I guess it's about working smarter, not harder, and it's hard to create new routines, because you sort of, so you got to employ discipline and willpower and consciousness and mindfulness and all of these things. But once you once you get the ball rolling, then it's much easier to keep it rolling. It just takes a bit
Yeah.
of momentum.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really great point. I think, Jocko Willink, the former Navy SEAL, says discipline equals freedom. So if we have a little
Hmm.
bit of discipline in our life, it'll actually give us a much more of a sense of freedom. And I think yeah, it's like consciously changing our routine, because we'll have a routine right now, but it'll be kind of this automatic routine, which, like you said, might be like massive meal, bottle of red wine, playing on the phone like first thing when I
Yeah.
wake up. So that it is a routine, but it's like, okay, how do I actually change that? And you're right, it does take a level of effort to break past that inertia. And you have to say,
But
well,
it takes
what
repeated effort as well. Not just
100%.
not just
Yeah.
try one morning, it didn't work, I'll fall back into my old routine.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like different, people say, oh, there's been studies done as 21 days or 31 days or
Mm,
whatever it is. It's all a bit different, but it's like, it's sort of once it no longer, like the body starts to move in that direction without too much of your conscious will having to move it, I guess that's when it's starting to become ingrained. And I like what you said about the math, because it's like, well, what result do I want? Well, I want better sleep. Like most people are like, I'm sleeping crap or whatever it is. Well, okay, well, what do we know leads to better sleep? And so I can build my routine based on whatever the result is that I want. And so it's like, okay, well, I need to not consume caffeine past a certain time. For a lot of people, it's like midday. For it might be like I need to not, overeat right before I go to bed, or maybe not undereat for some people. Some people just don't eat at all for the last, 6 or 7 hours of the day. And everyone will be a bit different. But I find for a lot of people, it's like, eating, but not eating too much. So we're not focused on
mm.
digestion through the night. Alcohol comes into it. Screens off, or at least having your blue light blockers in some form or another, or having the blue light turned off on your devices and that kind of thing. All of this stuff is what will help and aid sleep. It might be taking, uh, magnesium and zinc or something before bed as well. And it's like, okay, well, these are the routines that are going to lead to it. Then we've got to put it into action. That's when it becomes hard. Because, like you said, people might do that once and their sleep isn't good and they go, oh, stuff it. Whereas like, you got to give it,
It didn't work.
it didn't work. That's right. Or it's like someone who's really, it's like if I went and tried to run a marathon right now, I'm like, oh, running doesn't work. I couldn't run a marathon. It's like, bro, you got to run at 1 kilometer first. Start with small steps.
Well, you've got to be realistic and set yourself up to succeed, not set yourself up to fail. But you've got to look at the motivation. In Mindfit, we talk about the steps to change: awareness, acceptance, and then motivation is the third one, and then tools and capacity. But motivation's a massive thing in this. It's why am I thinking about changing my routine? What's in it for me? We're very selfish as humans underneath it all, and we tend to do things when there's something in it for me. So, what's in this for me? I love hanging out on my phone and getting that dopamine hit. I love eating a big meal. I love a couple of glasses of wine. Why would I change it? Well, look at the trajectory. Look at where this is leading. Zoom out of it and look at, is this healthy? Is this sustainable? And if it's not, then it's worth exploring and experimenting. As I said, it's going to be different for everybody, but it's worth playing around and changing it and seeing what works for you. But don't just give it a half-assed attempt. Don't just do it for a couple of days and go, oh, it's too hard or didn't work or whatever. You really got to commit and dedicate yourself to it and keep turning up, in the mornings and creating that awareness around and going, I can hear the thoughts, I can feel the urges or the impulsive thoughts to pick up my phone, and it's not bad that those thoughts are there. It doesn't mean it. I'm not going to apply any meaning to it. All that's required is for me to observe those thoughts and go, right, that's not aligned with what I'm trying to achieve these days. So I'm going to let those thoughts pass by, and each time those thoughts pass by, they're going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and not have as much power. So a couple of weeks into it, it's right now. This is getting much easier. So everything's hard until it's easy.
Yeah, that's right. You got to give yourself a chance. And the reason why, it's best to start with a morning or an evening or both routine is because those bookends of the days where we have, I suppose, some semblance of control. During the day,
Yeah.
life happens. Things come at us that we do and don't expect. And so it can be chaotic. But the start and the end of the day are where we can really start to, have a little bit of agency around our life and say, maybe I can, get up an hour earlier and do a few things that are going to benefit me or,
Well,
or benefit my sleep at night time.
and it's, getting up early. I was a big one for sleeping in, but thankfully I went to the army and got that knocked out of me. And then getting up early, I love now meeting the day. I used to I used to alarm, snooze, get up, and then just rush, and there'd be no sense of control or free will or choice at all. But getting up now and just meeting the day, I walked out this morning and it was beautiful. There's a couple of kangaroos just near the shack, and I sat there and just watched these kangaroos for a bit. And then, the doggos came out and did that and went for a WALK. They're sitting right next to me. And went down to the rainforest part, and and it was just you're just meeting the day. You're not getting into that. You're not getting into that really heightened state straight off the bat. So, and then at night, so you can, instead of being wound up from the start, you can slowly increase. It's like an engine. You can warm yourself up in the morning, and then at night time, it's like you've been running hot all day or whatever. You park the car in the garage and you leave the engine running, and expect it to perform really well the next day. Well, that's a bit silly. You got to turn the engine off, let it cool down. So it's all about observing yourself a bit more objectively and looking at, I really want to function well or function optimally and perform, well in whatever I'm doing throughout the day. So look at the math, look at the equation, look at what you're doing, and just evaluate and assess it, and then start making some changes here, some changes there, because it all has a ripple effect. How we sleep has a ripple effect through your whole day. It has a ripple effect in what you eat. It has a ripple effect in your work and how productive you are. It has a ripple effect in your relationships or how you're playing sport. So yeah, I mean it's just these simple little no-brainers, and there's a lot of research and talk about it, but a lot of people just don't do it for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, you're right. At the end of the day, we do want to wind ourselves down. People say, I just want to wind down, but then we jump on the phone and scroll, and that literally winds us up. That's what it's designed to do.
Or they have a glass of wine or a few beers to wind down, but that's literally making the body work harder to start processing the alcohol. So once again, it's winding up.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a rebound effect as well. So it's like I might feel like I'm winding down, but then when I go to bed, or then I'm been sleeping for an hour or two, then my body starts rebounding, and that's why our sleep quality is actually worse when we drink alcohol. And
Well, it's a weird thing as well, though, because mentally we feel like we're relaxing, but physically we're actually putting the body in stress. Same with smoke. When I used to smoke and work with smokers with hypnotherapy to help them stop, they're like, "Oh, smoking is really relaxing," and I'm like, do you know what inhaling smoke does to your body? It puts your body in a state of stress. It decreases the amount of oxygen in your system. Your heart has to pump, your lungs have to go harder. And they're like, well, why do I feel relaxing? And I'm like, well, what does cigarette make you do? It makes you focus on your breath. It's like breathe in, breathe out. So it creates this relaxation mentally, but physically it's a different game. So eating way too much at night, we should eat large meals in the morning and slowly taper them off. So I'm not, as you said, processing as much at night time. But yeah, large meal will put the body in stress. Alcohol will put the body in stress. Screen time will put the body in stress. But then you want to go and have a really peaceful night's sleep.
yeah, no, it doesn't add up. And at the start of the day as well, it's like if if you have to set an alarm or not, but it's like when you wake up, it's like just get out of bed. Because what most people do, it's like when you press snooze, like so you're setting the whole intention for your day in the morning. So by pressing snooze or just rolling over and going, I'm going back to sleep, or like 5 more minutes, you're essentially saying no to the day. So you're starting your whole day by saying no, no, no,
This is
instead of just
bullshit.
instead of getting out of bed and just going yes, yes to today. Let's say yes. So, and we really do set the tone in the morning for kind of what happens. And most people
And,
wake up
and, and
saying no, and also wondering, like, okay, what's going to go wrong today? What's going to happen today?
yeah, they're already, but they hit snooze. They try and convince themselves that they're going back to sleep, but they have that really light sleep, and in that light sleep, they start thinking about everything that's going to happen in the day. So they're already mentally in the future. So they're already in a state of anxiety to some degree, whilst trying to get more sleep. And it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So my
just get up. You're going to feel so much better if you just get up. Bed's for sleeping and sex. not for laying there scrolling on your
Woo!
phone. Woo! Thanks, Ric Flair. And bed's not the only place for sex or sleep, but they're the only two things you should really
Where
do in
else
the
can I
bed.
do it?
Wherever you like.
In the
So yeah,
public park?
yeah, if you that floats your boat.
That's a good point because yeah, people do. They'll go in bed, scroll on their phone, they'll watch TV and movies in bed, and that kind of thing, and so it just creates associations in the mind. Whereas if we're purely, bed is for sleep, then the mind knows, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going into my bedroom and into bed. Then it's time for sleep.
Yeah, and that word discipline just keeps coming back all the time. All right, so have morning routines, morning and evening, sleep routine. Sleep hygiene is part of the evening routine. Move, pretty simple. Stretch, roll out, put the body under stress, breathe heavy, exert yourself. Um, get the body uncomfortable, and that can happen in many ways. Game of tennis, go play golf, but don't have a golf cart. Walk around, push your buggy. Lots of different things. Play with the kids. Get down on the ground. Wrestle the dogs. All there's so many. You don't have to have just a gym membership to exercise. There's many ways in which we can get the body moving. And yeah, I'm doing a lot at the moment. Lots of injuries and issues and that over the years. I'm really focused on stretching and releasing and strengthening, but the little muscles. So I've just got TheraBand in the morning, TheraBand around my feet, and just moving my foot forward and backwards to strengthen the ankles, and then moving my leg over here to stretch out the glute med, and then stretch over the other way, and just all these tiny little muscles that support the big muscles.
Yep.
Yeah, they're super important.
Yeah, no, so I take our dog to the dog park every morning. That's part of my morning routine. I have a big electrolytes and some vitamins, and I take her. And yeah, I just find myself, still. I like the analogy you used about sort of warming the engine up. And I'll be at the dog park and I'll start walking. Then it'll be a brisk walk. And today I started doing a bit of a jog and some side steps, and then stretching on the fence. And then some other doggies come, so I'm like, hey, the other doggies are here, and you're sort of playing with them and running around. And all of a sudden I leave, and it's like I've gone from first gear into second.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe even into third because the blood's moving now, and so all of a sudden the engine's starting to warm up a bit. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to just be a gym membership. There's so many different ways that we can move.
Yeah. If you live near the ocean, just go and walk in the water for a bit. It's great for you.
Or another one that I do on a couple of times a week is, which I do love, is we take Tommy to the local play center. There's a few of them around, and there's like I always go in with him. He's like, "Dad, you gonna come in?" I'm like, "Yeah," because it's like trying to squeeze through the little gaps, and then I'm
Yeah.
like trying to army roll my way through places and everything,
Yeah.
and it's great because it's all these, and I'm crawling around like I'm a fucking awkward bear or something. And so it's like, but it's all these different movements that you wouldn't normally do if you're just doing classically at the gym or anything like that. So that's good as well. Different movements. I like it.
I think Jack Nicklaus was the golden bear and Ryan
I'm the
Hassan was the
awkward bear.
awkward bear. That's your golf nickname from now
Okay, fair enough.
on. Know your comfort zone and make sure that you throw yourself out of that comfort zone on occasion, whether it's physical comfort or mental comfort. You can tell when you're sort of stuck in that rut, stuck in the comfort zone, and it's like it happens to me up here. I've 40 acres. There's weeks where I don't go into town all week. It's just M goes into town for work and whatever, and gets the shopping, and just the doggos and I out here, and I'm quite content with that. But I'm like, oh, actually, this isn't healthy. I need to go and exercise my social muscle. I need to get out of here and go and talk to people. I talk to clients all day, but I need to go and have a social conversation. So that's just knowing, I'm thinking creating mindful awareness around when you're in your comfort zone, and going, hey, it's not, once again, it's not good or bad that I'm in here, but it's not really helping me to stay in here and exist in here. I'm going to get soft, I'm not soft in a toxic masculinity way, but it's like the shipping is safe in harbour. That's not what ships are built for, because the ropes start to break down and barnacles on the hull and that. So we've got to get out there and yeah, put ourselves in that discomfort to some degree.
Yeah, yeah, no, literally yesterday I signed up to a business program. It goes for 12 months the next year. And it's one of those ones where I looked at it and I spoke to a guy on the phone for 2 hours and I'm like, whoa, this is a little bit, a little bit of butterflies. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a
Yeah,
bit of a stretch, this, I don't know.
yeah.
And then so there's the part of me, like the part of you that goes, I'll just stay here all week with the doggos. It's a part of me that goes, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about it. Just stay,
This is fun. This is nice.
this is
This is
working.
nice.
Then there's another part that goes, the ship is safe in harbour, but it's not what ships are meant to do. It's like, come on, mate, like stretch yourself, live life, live a
Yeah,
little bit. And I think the leaning into that is also a muscle, it's like leaning into that. Oh, there's the edge of my comfort zone. I'm just going to lean into just the other side of it and then continually
yeah,
doing that. And like we've spoken about on many podcasts, that's how our comfort zone grows. Because when we
yeah.
go through, mental health challenges and issues and a lot of stress, then all of a sudden our comfort zone gets very, very small. We're kind of caged into a very small area. And we've spoken about before, you had agoraphobia, like your area was literally the boundaries of your house. So it's like the more that we can develop this muscle, the more that we can lean into so many different areas. Then all of a sudden we get to a point where we're like, wow, I'm experiencing so many different things and all these different connections, and I'm, doing all this stuff, and we have this huge boundary now that we can we
Well,
can move within.
a bored mind, the ship doesn't do well when it stays in harbour because it gets bored and it's not being utilised. So you're in your comfort zone where you keep catching yourself in those unhealthy sort of habits where you're scrolling on your phone too much, or eating too much, or drinking too much, or you're getting a bit snarky with the missus or the hubby or whatever. Um, it's it's acknowledging it and then going, all right, this is not good for me. This is where I need to get out of there and start stretching myself and engage the mind instead of distracting the mind with binging on Netflix and then just sitting there eating chocolate and drinking beers and whatever. It's about engaging the mind instead of distracting the mind. So what you're doing with this business thing is you're going to engage the mind. It's going to start learning new neurological pathways, firing synapses, all this sort of stuff. Where if you don't go and do things that it's just constantly learning, constantly experiencing new things, then it's just going to be the old wires, the old sort of highways are going to get deeper and deeper, and that's where we really get stuck in those ruts.
Yeah, and there's like I remember, before my metanoia, and I would stay within these confines. So it's like I'm a tradie, go to work, get smashed on the weekends, have these same friendship groups and all that kind of thing, and it's all very comfortable. And there was a lot of good times, a lot of laughs, a lot of love, all of that kind of stuff. But then there develops this deep yearning, and I hear this so often from clients. They go, "There's got to be more than this." Well, it's
Mm.
like we're stuck in the comfort zone. We're stuck there doing the same routines, habits, everything, without stepping outside of it. And we do that for long enough that we're like, come on, there's got to be more to life than this, surely. And then we maybe see other people, and we're like, I think they're like doing more, than me, but we're so stuck in it that we still don't step outside of it. So
I
it's like,
call it
and
turning left instead of right. And a good example of this I heard on a video. I was laying in bed the other morning, scrolling on my phone, drinking a beer and eating some chocolate at 6 a.m. Uh, not really, not really. And no, I was doing something and heard this video, this bloke speaking, and he said he bumped into a guy who up a mountain. They were hiking up a mountain. There was only the four of them. There's two blokes and their two kids. And he said, "Look at us. We're the only people up here. There's billions of people in the world, and we're the only two people on this mountain." The bloke's like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's like, yeah. Where is everyone? It's like, oh, they're in their houses. They're in wherever. I said, well, why are you up here? He said, well, when I was 40, I realized sort of that I was just one of the Joneses. I was stuck in the rut sort of thing and just going through the motions. So I decided every 2 months on a weekend, I'm just going to go and do something. I'm going to sign up for a cooking class. I'm going to take my kids hiking up a mountain. I'm going to go scuba diving or snorkeling. And he said, so 6 days a year, because it's every 2 months, 6 days a year is all it takes, and I'm doing something new. But by the time I'm 80, if I'm lucky enough to live to 80 or 90, I've had hundreds of these different experiences, and so he's playing the long game. It's not much, 6 days a year, but all of a sudden, 6 times 40, that's a lot of
Yeah.
new
What a
experiences.
great way to put it, because most people's excuse, the mind will say, no, no, you can't have enough time for that. Too busy.
Yeah.
Too much on. Can't do it.
If someone says I don't have enough time, what they're saying is I don't. It's not a priority. That's
Yeah.
all that they're saying. If it's
Yeah.
important, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. So, especially with kids, like what you're doing with, you're going out and doing these things, and a lot of times you'll take Tommy, so you're conditioning and training him to not just sit in the house playing video games.
Mm.
He's really going to be learning through experience, which is the best way to learn. That all of this is available to us. All of these experiences are out there. It's all there. We just got to tap
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Love it. Love
All
it, my
right.
friend. What a good little list you've come up with on your deathbed here.
Oh, thanks, mate. I try and use my time productively.
I'm waiting for the
Uh,
next one. I'm waiting for the next one to be.
that shouldn't have come out there. Um, read and watch read and watch documentaries. If you do find that you're sort of in a bit of a binge trench, then a way to start getting yourself out there is to start watching documentaries. What's the website I use? Films for Change is a streaming service with a lot of documentaries on there. If you're going to have screen time, you may as well make it educational or inform a higher nutritional content than whatever it is that you're scrolling through. So,
Yeah. Ripper.
uh, playing around with them. The first fundamental pillar in Myndfit is prioritizing you, and in you, it's your mental and physical health. So yeah, just it's a nice segue. Just looking at the quality of calorie that you're consuming physically and mentally. So just keeping an eye on that. Get a massage. It's a funny one for uh, women and men. Women are more sort of likely to go and get a massage. Blokes will do it only if there's something wrong, but
Yeah.
go and get a massage. And try a Thai massage or a relaxation massage or a myotherapy or acupuncture. Just go and do something for the body because we use it so often. And go back to the car metaphor, we rarely service it.
Yeah.
So it's actually the body really enjoys getting the knots taken out of it.
Do you remember the massage chairs from Hoyana Shores?
Do I? Well, no, I haven't even ordered one. What? Dude, don't look at my credit card statement.
There, there are these massage chairs at one of the golf clubs, and I've sat on those massage chairs, at the shopping centers, and they got them sitting there, and you sit in them, and you put a bit of money, and you're like, yeah, okay, that was pretty ordinary. They had these massage chairs, which were, oh my God, Nick, they
I've
were,
got a photo. I've got a photo of you in it. I might post
yes,
it.
yeah, yeah, it was bloody amazing. But yeah, I think what you're talking about is that the yin and the yang, or I think Paul Chek talks about the working out and the working in and having balance there. And so maybe we'll look after our physical body and do a lot of movement, but it's very much yang activities or working out, which means it's exertion, more
Mm.
hard activity and everything. But then we neglect the working in, which is that servicing part that you're talking about. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you got to get into the gym and you're going 3 or 4 times a week and you're smashing it out. And then the other days you're doing running, but you're not getting the massages. You're not doing the slow stretching. You're not taking care of things. For me, yeah, massage and a chiro. Like my chiro now is booked in every 3 to 4 weeks, no matter how my back's doing. Just because
Hmm.
I know from fucking over a decade of having to go and get it sorted out when it's really, really fucked, that hey, preventative measures are much better to do that.
What?
Yeah, who would have
Look,
thought?
what? It's crazy talk. If
Who would have
only
thought?
someone would base a mental health business on that model of proactive. Yeah, that's interesting.
Nah, no one will do that.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
No.
And massage is great because it has an effect on the mind and the body. Yeah, it's a chance for you to switch off, put yourself in someone else's hands, literally for a while. Just feel the relaxation of it. If it's a relaxation massage, so it's good for lots of things. Learn new hobbies. Or expand what you're doing in your hobby. So I play the drums. So I can play X amount of drum beats, but I'm always trying to learn how to play more, and I can feel it. When I'm trying to learn a new beat or a new song or a new feel or something, and you're like, you can't get it, and because you don't have the neurological pathways in place. And I had this the other day, and then all right, I left it, and I think I must have been dreaming about it, or I'm always tapping, and then and the next day I went and I felt the wires connect and just this spark, and I was just like bang, I'm like yay, and then pretty much straight away fucked it up again. And but kept turning up, and it's so healthy for the brain to continue learning, see how to use it or lose it, sort of thing.
Do you hear something really funny? You just
Well,
brought
is it?
that up. You brought that up, and I literally had a dream last night, and I remembered, and it was so funny because I was, for some reason, I had a gig coming up at a Tool concert, but I had to play drums as an opening act.
What?
And yeah, I'm not joking. And so what happened? I've never played the drums, and so I had this thing in a couple where I had to play opening act, play the drums before Tool, but I knew like I was going to get to meet them and all that. And so you were in my dream because we were at this massive shop, and there was this weird big electrical drum set, and I'm like, Nick, can you teach me some basic shit? Because I need to learn it. But everyone was like, no, you're fine. You're fine. Like, no, I'm not fine. I don't know how to play the drum. And you were there trying to show me a beat or something on these big electronic drums, and I couldn't. I was having trouble wrapping my head around it. So yeah,
That's
that was my dream.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I love that I'm in your dreams. Yeah, so whatever it is, try your hand something. You don't have to make it a permanent hobby, but just try and go to a pottery class or a cooking class or a knitting class or gardening or something. It's aligned with getting out of your comfort zone. It's
yeah.
don't just stick to what you know.
Musical instrument, art, learn a new language, all of that kind of stuff. There's so many that the obviously I work in the online information, industry now, and there's just you can do whatever you want. It's like, if you have some sort of interest in some field of knowledge, you can find someone who's an expert in that area and you can learn from them online. And I think that's such a beautiful thing of our online world.
There was I can't remember. Someone said if you type in this link, there's like free college on the internet, but you have to put like dot edu or dot something, and all of a sudden all these free courses pop up. There is so much information. The internet's a tool, and a lot of people don't use the tool very well, or they use it to create dis-ease and unhealth within themselves. So if you're going to be on the internet, let's use it for good, not evil, and actually get that mind engaged again, not just distracted.
And there's a lot of great
Uh,
players like Udemy, Udemy.com, Coursera, Teachable, I think is another one. And these are like, you can get courses on there. It was when I wanted to start making online courses. I did a course on how to make an online course. It's so meta. But you can find anything on there. I wanted to learn about critical thinking and the scientific method. And I found someone on there who was literally had been a college professor for like 2 decades in the States, who'd made a full course on critical thinking, and I paid like $20 for it. And it's like, fucking hell, I'm learning from this expert in the field for $20. It's absolutely amazing. And you can get really obscure with it. You can look up like, how to raise baby goats in a cool weather climate. And it's like you'll find it. Somebody that's their thing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can go on these sites and just type in anything that you're interested in and just go for it. Just start diving in.
I bought Em and myself some motorbikes for the property, just some dirt bikes, and Ems has got some issues and needs some bits fixed. So I'm doing a motorbike mechanics course, just the basics in motorbike mechanics because it's all a bit foreign to me. And you
Yeah.
can go and pay. You can go and pay a mechanic hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, or you can pay a couple $100 to learn a skill that you got for life. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. Learning these
fun
new
one.
things. We take Tommy to bush kinder and he's doing forest school now. I don't know if I've told this, but like the first time I took him, so with the bush kinder one, you go with them and you do whatever the activities are. But it's great, and it's stuff that I wish that I had when I was a kid. It's like learning about nature, how to be in nature, what to be aware of, how to make things with nature without taking from it. And we made this little painting, or Tommy did, where there was a bit of like Hessian cloth, and you'd find a few different flowers of different colors, and you'd put them in there, and you'd have like a rock, and you'd fold it and beat it, and then when you opened it up, the colors would stain into this cloth. And then the teacher there is like, all right, mums and dads, what we're going to do now is we need to make a frame for it. So she's like, there's a bit of twine here. Go find 4 sticks and tie together a frame for this thing. And I remember thinking, oh, fuck, I hope I can do this. Because this is the stuff that I never learned when I was a kid. It was all like,
Yeah,
you learn your math and all this kind of stuff.
yeah,
It was never actual engaging with the environment. And so, luckily enough, because I'm like, man, Tommy's going to think I'm a bit of a disappointment if I can't do this. But I imagine that tie it together and make a frame, and it's all these skills that we can learn, and it's great that you can learn like literally how to change parts on a bike and that kind of stuff. Like it's amazing.
yeah. That integrating back into nature is so important because we talk about integration within ourselves, but integration within our environments as well. But we're so disconnected from the land. There's a lot of stuff up here in Queensland about reintegrating with nature and reconnecting to the land. And I think I've spoken about it before. The Dreaming Path by Paul Callanan. It's a Indigenous thinking to change your life. A wonderful book, and in that he talks about the 3 types of learning. It was experiential. So in Indigenous culture, they don't go to school at 9 o'clock and come home at 5 o'clock. It's schools for education is for a couple of hours, but then there's also doing things for the elders, and so that the whole day is sort of learning, but through fun ways and experience. But he says, yeah, so have your scholastic learning and have your sort of hobby learning. And then I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but yeah, there was these sort of, so get your diplomas and degrees and all that sort of stuff, but learn your life skills. And I think it was the personal skills. So I was playing around with, I think the next podcast we might do, because I'm writing the client handbook at the moment. And a chapter in there is cultivating these inherent qualities within ourselves that we're not all born with amazing discipline or amazing willpower. We've got to cultivate a lot of these parts. So
Mm.
yeah, splitting your studying up into your scholastic study and your life skills study, but then also your personal development study.
Yeah, so true. I went we had David Baker on the podcast from Woodley, the
Yeah,
principal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I went to an info night
Oh, nice.
on Tuesday night, literally 2 nights ago. So yeah, I saw him again, and because we're going to apply for Tommy to start going there next year. And
Awesome.
so it was info night, and we're going for a tour of the junior campus on Monday. And yeah, just these philosophies. Like I'm like, what a great way to do it. He was talking about, you know, respect for self, respect for others, and respect for the environment, and learning through experience. And it's like
Mm,
a few people in there were putting their hands up. So like, what's the exact curriculum and that kind of thing? And so I
mm,
know they're learning through all these different activities and things that we're going to take them through. And you know, they spoke about the classical schooling system taking kids of all different dispositions and natures and shapes and sizes and trying to make them all the same, whereas they're trying
mm.
to flip that funnel on its head and trying to have them lean into all their differences and their strengths and everything. And it would just, I was obviously blown away having him on the podcast, hearing about him and the school, but going down there as well and seeing it, I'm like, fuck, we've got to get Tommy in there because it's just exactly, it's
Did he
exactly the
recognize you?
experience.
Did he know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
you
yeah.
were? Yeah.
Yeah. I went up and had a chat to him, and he literally said, he goes, I was actually thinking about that podcast the other day and was wondering if, you know, people listen. And I'm like, yeah, I had some great messages of people saying that that's such a great philosophy and way to, you know, approach childhood development. So,
I see what you've done here. This is you've played the long game here. You've thought, oh, I wouldn't mind getting Tom in there. Hey, Nico, let's get him on the podcast, or let's make you think you're going to get him on the podcast, Nico. And yeah, well played, sir. Well played. I like it.
yeah,
I
I'm
like it.
smarter than I look.
You're not just a fart smeller, are you? I mean, a smart fella. All right, balance. Balance is a big one. Balance is my default word in everything. It's always, you know, and Einstein said balance isn't being perfectly still. It's like riding a bike. You go sort of, there's an ebb and flow in a sweet spot. So imagine a spectrum. It's 100 meters long. 50 meters is in the middle. Um, 60 meters and 40 meters is probably the sweet spot. That's balance. It's not just in that 50 meters. And we've all got these wonderful human natures and these personalities and these traits and tendencies. So a key for me, a quality that I cultivated was this awareness around noticing when I was moving out of that sweet spot, whether it was towards the zero end or the 100 end. Was I going hyper or hyper? And I know I'm running my best. I'm optimal. I'm a better person to be around and for everyone else, and feel better within myself when I'm in balance, and when I'm in alignment. So um, you know, up here, it's been really really interesting. Someone the other day said, "How are you?" I was playing golf with a dude, and he said, "Oh, how are you finding it up here?" I said, "Yeah, I'm really deliberately each day. I'm really going to turn up every day because it would be. I've got to work on the business, so seeing clients. I've got to work in the business, developing resources and growing it. Um, but I've also got to maintain 40 acres, and there's a lot of rain and a lot of sun up here. Everything just fucking grows constantly and quickly in the season. But I've also got to have fun. I've also got to hang out with M and the dogs, and you know, give myself permission to take a day off from mowing lawns or chopping wood or whatever. And so that balance is, it's not easy to
Mm.
stay in that balance, because I have a lot of tendencies that go, I just want to keep working on the property. I want to get the property into a certain state, which is completely irrational, because you know, if I go away for a couple of weeks and come back, it's all out of shape again. So that's a constant work for me up here, is finding that balance. And once again, it takes discipline, and it takes mindfulness, it takes conscious awareness, it takes observing myself and really going, all right, well, okay, you're doing a bit too much here. We've got to shift over here a little. It's all about making these little adjustments on the fly. It's not about, you know, you're driving along, you start veering off the road. If you yank the steering wheel over here, you're going to put yourself in shit. So it's just about making these little adjustments. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I love it. That word's just so strong for me and so many clients I've seen as well. I love the Einstein analogy of the bike. It's like we're never actually, the only time we're perfectly balanced is like as we're crossing over from one side to
Yeah,
the other.
yeah.
So it's
It's
like
fleeting. It's
it's
fleeting.
very fleeting. And so people have this idea, it's like, well, what do I need to do to be perfectly balanced? And it's like, you never will.
Yeah.
You just notice when you're dipping one way or the other, and everybody's got a different place for that. And for me, so for me right now, today, and for maybe tomorrow as well, my focus is slowing down a little bit because I've had a ramped up. I had a ramped up social weekend because it was my birthday, and then a ramped up lots of work stuff the last few days, and so I can see my balance. Like you, it's so easy for me to go, I'm on a roll. Let's keep going. That kind of thing. And that might feel good in the moment, but I've done it enough times where I've gone too far away. I know where it ends up. It ends up me getting burnt out or angry and resentful and frustrated. All of those things. So for me, it's like now, instead of you were saying the 60 and the 40. So if I'm down towards the 40, I stand now like okay, let's slowly ramp it down a little bit. And then it'll start to come back. And like you said, it's a balancing act. And, we've got to, when we start, like anything, when we focus on something, we start to become more aware of it. And so we focus on balance in our life. We know when we're starting to get to one end or other end of the spectrum. And we create that for ourselves. Now, most people, we live in a society now where we're conditioned to be go, go, go. We're always doing, we're always consuming, we're always scrolling, all of that kind of thing. So for a lot of people, the first step is starting to maybe slow down that a little bit. And like you said, maybe it's not, okay, I'm going to completely ban myself from the phone and the laptop completely and then all these other things. It's like, maybe let's just limit it a little bit, see how we're going, limit it a bit more, see how we're going, turn all the notifications off on my phone, see how that goes. And so we just start to find our balance. Because like you said, when somebody's balanced, they show up so much better, number one for themselves, but also for all the people that they interact with and around them. So it doesn't just benefit the person balancing, it benefits everyone else as well.
I could easily sit in my office and work 18-hour days, and feel great doing it, because I'd be smashing things out, I'd be productive, I'd be, I've done this, that sense of achievement, that sense of accomplishment. That'd be very easy. What would happen though is M would feel very not like a priority. The dogs would become just bored and disruptive. I just have a really negative ripple effect on so many other components of my life. Work, family, friends, hobbies. If you're heavily biased in one area, it's going to come at the detriment for all those other areas. So, once again, when I went through my metanoia and I pulled out all these shitty beliefs and limiting beliefs and toxic beliefs and replaced it all with these philosophies. One of them was, just because I can, it doesn't mean I should. And that was so liberating for me, because it was an acknowledgement. It was I can do that. I could play golf for 18 hours a day. I could hang out with the dogs for 18 hours a day. I could but just because I can, it doesn't mean I should. And so I added to that and said, do what's required, and that helped cultivate that discipline. It was like, do what's required. What's required is I turn off the computer and get out of the office. I'm in this workflow, and that's where discipline comes in again. I'm in the zone with this. I'm in the zone. Oh, just another hour, and then all of a sudden it's 4 hours later, and you're like, oh fuck, oh, I've missed that. Oh, she's good. She ate dinner by herself, or the dogs haven't had a walk today, or so. It's really turning up for yourself again and going, no, I'm going to step out of this component, and what's required is to go and spend time in that other component.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to know ourselves, know our priorities, because that can happen with me. Like I have different priorities, but my number one is being a dad. And it's like, that extra hour or two of work on something that I want to do, if that's taking away from me being there as a dad, then it's like, come on, mate, it's not worth it.
Is that why your golf game sucks? Because your priority is not to be a golfer?
I'm gonna say yes and use that as an excuse.
Right. I thought I'd just put that out there for you about a life raft.
You wait until I have my 3-wood and my hybrid. I'm going to be a weapon out
there. Dude, I've got a golf simulator in my shed now.
Yeah, mate.
You
Well,
don't understand what this
you
means.
can't simulate just walking down to the first and seeing these big guns in front of you, mate. You can't do that.
You don't. You're not intimidating. You're not intimidating. You don't have the
Yeah,
combination to get into this safe, buddy.
no, but I'll find
Uh,
it. I'll find it. I'll get in
no,
there. Don't
you
worry
won't.
about it.
No, you won't. I've put "Don't settle for mediocre," but I'm
Oh,
doing this. I'm doing this podcast with you, so I'm sort of.
yeah.
I'm sort of. I was there. I had to take it, man.
No, you
I
didn't.
had to take it.
You just because you should
Just because
have
I
doesn't mean
can,
that you could.
just because I could, it doesn't mean I should. Um, and I think don't sell for Medica summarizes what we're spoken about. But the last one is something that we've just done is travel, book holidays, and micro breaks. You know, don't just book your big 1 or 2 week vacations. You know, have those little micro breaks as well, and they're really refreshing. And once again, it's all of these things stops us from falling into those ruts, and essentially that's what we not want to avoid, but that's want to be really mindful of is not getting stuck in the ruts. So, right, booking. You know, start your whole year. Just December 1st, have a look at what's happening next year and then start booking all these micro breaks for next year. And then it's done. You know, just do it all in one hit.
Yeah, yeah. I did a workshop of a life planning day for this year, and we just booked them all. We're off to Yanaki next week. You know, Yanaki
Nice.
Caribbean. Yeah, my brother, they were managing the Warrnambool Caravan Park. Now they've just started managing the Yanaki one. Because as we get older, and it's worth spending time around people who are nearing the end of their life, and you realize you're this kind of conglomeration of memories. And it's like, am I going to look back on the fact that I worked a couple of extra hours every day and go, oh, yeah, that was so good that, the 14th of May in 1986, and I worked those couple of extra hours just to get that spreadsheet done. Fuck, it was good. It's like, no, you're going to remember that you took time out to, go on these little breaks or go on these holidays or learn a new language or play the guitar and how you got good at it. That's the things you're going to be left with. And if we
I
don't,
was just
we're not going to remember the ruts that. Remember that rut I was in for 4 years, and I just reacted to automatic behaviors the whole time. Yeah, those are the days. It's not. We
bring
remember
them
that.
back. The
Bring
glory
bring
days.
back the rut, the glory days. And so, yeah, we remember these things. So if we plan them and do them, then we get a chance to have more of these fond memories.
And it's great. It's exciting, sitting there planning all these little breaks and holidays for the coming year. It's something to look forward to, and it gives us that sense of purpose, and it creates a substance, a depth to our life experience. Stuck in the rut is so surface level. There's no depth or substance to it. So it's
The
fun to go and
the amount of banter that we had leading up to the Vietnam trip
oh,
was
mind-boggling. Uh,
mind-boggling.
I did, and I didn't know we had it in us.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise. It was hectic for a while there. So yeah, it's collect memories, not things. I'm working with a client at the moment. He's so successful in his business and his properties and all this sort of shit. But he keeps missing his appointments. And I said, mate, you gave it to him straight. I said, you got to do better. He's like, oh, you're right. I said, you're just not a priority. You're prioritizing all these surface materialistic things, but you know all the theory, but you haven't mastered the techniques. You've read all the books and you know all the lingo and the language, but you're not embodying it. You're not integrated, and you're not talking the talk. Walking the walk. Sorry, you're talking the talk, and this really interesting conversation about how do we still run a business that we're passionate about, like you and I run our own businesses. How do we run a business, but still, it's not the be all and end all. It is and it isn't. My why is to help reduce the amount of unnecessary suffering in the world with people who want to do the work, and that's great. But that's not going to be on my tombstone. I'm not going to have 1,000 clients turn up to my funeral, and yeah, Nick was the greatest. It's about. I said to him, I'm really focused on being a really good human being. That's sort of That's my uh, thing is how can I be the best human being? And he sort of was a bit jolted by it. He was like, that's a thing. That's something we can. That's something we can do. And I'm like, yeah. And when you're a better human being, you're a better boss, or you're better to interact with. You're a better husband, a better father, and all these things. So
But isn't that such a sign of our conditioning, both from our parents and culturally? It's just this conditioning of, oh, you mean that can be a goal, just to be a really good human being and acquiring all these things, isn't? It's one of the reasons I love Michael Singer as a teacher because, obviously I read The Untethered Soul and that, and I'm like, wow, this guy's got very deep thinking and he explains it really well and, some great, really wonderful stuff. And then after that, I find out that whilst his whole process was about just self exploration and being a better person, but along the way, he built like $1 billion business and was managing hundreds of people. And I'm like, what? And so, then he wrote a book, The Surrender Experiment, which explains like how he like lived his life of having this big company and then, legal battles and jet flying and jets and that, whilst his number one thing was his meditation and his inquiry practice and all of this other stuff was happening. So that's why I love it. He's a real good, I suppose, integration of the both.
yeah, I think we need role models. We need to look to those that have come before us and that are achieving things that yeah, the role models. In becoming a better human, hopefully, I'm a role model for clients, and I'm a role. It's not my. I want to be a good role model, but it's just a byproduct.
Mm.
And as I said, it always comes back for me. It comes back to when I'm in balance and the best version of myself. I'm just better for everyone else. So, but
Yeah,
it takes effort. It takes fucking effort.
it does. Yeah, no, it's no, we're not going to lie and say it's a very, very easy path. It's one that pays dividends as we go along the way. And then it's only when we look back and go, oh my God, look where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago to where I am now. I'm so glad that I did all those things. But it goes against our immediate gratification culture and nature where it's like, oh, I meditated for a day. Why aren't I feeling awesome? you know, you give it up. So, I think the
How come
theme
I'm
of
not
today's
enlightened yet?
why not? This is bullshit. So, let me go and, take ayahuasca or something so I can feel that state for a short amount of time. So it's like, yeah, I think being there for yourself has really been the theme of today. Tips for well-being, from Nick's deathbed, but it's really showing up for yourself. What are you going to pull a
Uh,
card for me here, mate? What's going on?
no, well, these are great. I love these. I use them with clients all the time, and within my book, so they're the Buddhist reading cards by Sofan Chan. Highly recommend getting yourself a set. But
I'm
there's
such a fan of Sofan Chan.
oh, mm, okay.
I'm trying.
Um,
I'm trying to wrap the show up by making you
yeah,
cringe with
yeah,
my dad jokes.
yeah. No, I love a dead joke. A discipline is one of the cards, and it's a contemplation card. But a disciplined mind leads to happiness, an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. It's from the Dalai Lama. And I think we might do an episode on the Eightfold Path, which is the fourth noble truth in Buddhism, and it's the path, and it's just to run through real quickly: pure effort, pure speech, pure thought, pure concentration, pure livelihood, pure action, pure understanding, and pure mindfulness. So these 8 things that we can incorporate and practice to all of a sudden find ourselves flourishing and thriving in all areas of our life. And many of these are what we've touched on today. It's hilarious with a client when they finish a program, I'll run through these and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm doing those." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't even tell you the Eightfold Path existed, but started pointing you in the direction of these things, and look at you go." And they're like, "Oh, that's wonderful."
Can I add a ninth fold to the path?
Go on.
Puring my four iron.
That's so much better than that Sofan Shan fan joke.
Yes. Yes.
That's so much better. I'm going to create balance today and go and have some breakfast and WALK the doggos because we're up early recording this morning, and I don't know, what am I? No, I haven't. Oh, I can't remember. And go and get into my golf simulator and pursue my nine. I'm going to do
Beautiful.
the ninth
Thank
fold path.
the ninth fold path. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you're taking something out of this episode. Hit us up if you have any questions, and if not, we will see you all on the next one. Thank you, Nico.
Peace.
Peace out. I nearly ended the meeting.